This is El Salvador, a small nation located in Central America, home to almost 7 million people, a country that most people hadn't paid that much attention to until recently. Its economy isn't exactly an example of groundbreaking innovation. A large portion of its population lives in poverty, and income inequality is high. That said, El Salvador is the first country to make Bitcoin legal tender, and therefore has attracted the eyeballs of millions of people around the world, curious to see what impact it has on the small nation. So, while we're checking out Bitcoin in this tropical land, we might as well check out its whole economy to get some key context and understand if its economy is really turning a corner. Welcome to the economy of El Salvador. Hi, welcome to Economics in Action. If you like this kind of content, then subscribe to support the channel. Anyway, on with the video. El Salvador's economy had predominantly been based on its agricultural sector. Sugarcane, coffee, and maize were popular exports. Investments came from afar. Even the British had sold trains to the Salvadorans, which used to have a functioning national railway network, mostly linking areas of crop production to its ports on the Pacific coast. Unfortunately, most of this network has disappeared today, but a short single line for tourists can still be used in downtown Sonsonate. Anyway, despite its economy being heavily focused on agricultural output, El Salvador was not self-sufficient and had to import food, as much of its crops were cash crops. Towards the mid to late 20th century, industry began to grow quickly in El Salvador, as the boom of consumerism in the US had a ripple effect in other parts of the Americas. But this was until civil war broke out in 1979, lasting through to 1992. You see, El Salvador was another nation on a long list of nations to get caught up in the big brain ideology battle-off between the US and the Soviet Union. Now, I'll avoid explaining the details of the Civil War because I don't think I can do it justice, but what I will say is that there was a revolutionary government junta backed by the USA, and there was the FMLN, a left-wing political party backed by the Soviets. And also there was this man, Archbishop Oscar Romero, a key peace figure during the war, who even published an open letter to the US President Jimmy Carter at the time. He was a symbol of pacifism. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in 1980 while celebrating Mass, and has since even received the title of Servant of God by Pope John Paul II. He's a big figure in the country, so I can't continue without mentioning him. Anyway, this context of the war may sound unnecessary for an economics channel to mention, but I promise you it's necessary to understand today's El Salvador. So, after the war, El Salvador had to rebuild. Its economy recovered quite well. As it turns out, repurposing human capital to generate resources rather than killing fellow citizens was a great thing for the economy. Who knew? By 2001, a major economic change took place, the dollarization of the nation, as the US dollar became legal tender alongside the colon. This change obviously had some pros and cons. For a nation that was not known for its political and economic stability, a US dollar meant that inflation would be stable, while, at the same time, the state had effectively handed over its monetary policy to the US Federal Reserve, a foreign institution over which it had no influence whatsoever. By 2004, the nation signed a free trade agreement with the US, Dominican Republic, and other Central American nations, known as CAFTA, which helped boost its exports and has solidified the US as the country's main trading partner for the foreseeable future. Since then, not much has actually changed. The nation's economy continues to grow at a low rate, which hasn't drastically improved the living standards in the country. Its service sector has continued to grow, and due to the large overseas population it has in the US, many of which arrived in the US during the Civil War, this has meant that remittances, predominantly from the US, now contribute to more than a quarter of the nation's GDP, and this has had a knock-on impact on the knowledge of English among high-earning and middle-income Salvadorans, which is not uncommon. So, what is El Salvador's economy like today? How is the nation getting on? With a GDP per capita of a little over $4,000, El Salvador is, by definition, a lower middle income country. its $27.5 billion economy ranks alongside Macau and Senegal. That's to say, about 103rd largest in the world. If you're from the USA, think Vermont, and if you're from Europe, think Cyprus. Now, aside from the inflows of money from Salvadorans working in the US, the Salvadoran economy does participate in the global capitalism machine. Its most important export is textiles and clothing, making up more than 40% of the country's total exports. Other important exports are food products like coffee and sugarcane. As mentioned before though, the country's service sector has seen significant growth since the war. Not just because the nation is filled with just as many drive-through Starbucks, Wendy's and McDonald's as the chief of obesity itself, but to give some credit to El Salvador, it's been because of innovators at home. Fintech companies like YouGov offer services equal to that of Uber Eats and are looking to expand regionally into Guatemala, a noticeable success. Furthermore, the pockets of proficient English speakers in the country have seen US companies base customer service operations across the capital, San Salvador, allowing the nation to be more connected to the global economy and less reliant on when influencers Emma and Kyle in Brooklyn start pushing coffee and avocado toast. That said, I do like a coffee too. Anyway, perhaps you're wondering where all these exports go, and you've probably got a country in your head. And I'm going to guess it starts with a U and ends in United States of America, and you'd be correct. Despite the regional organization of SICA and the CA4 mobility agreement with Guatemala, Honduras and Nicaragua, the vast majority of El Salvador's exports head north to the US. That said, trade with other partners is growing, particularly with other members of the CA4 agreement, as well as with China and the EU, with which Central America as a whole has an associate trade agreement, meaning lower tariffs, and an ice cream for every worker who checks goods at a seaport. So, where does Bitcoin come into all of this? Why did El Salvador make this jump from dollarized tropical nation to tech bro volcano Bitcoin city? Okay, so this is the part you really came for. What is going on with Bitcoin in El Salvador? Well, first of all, why did the country adopt the cryptocurrency? To explain, you'll need to know this man, Nayib Bukele. You see, Nayib Bukele is the current president of El Salvador and founder of the relatively new political party Nuevas Ideas, which has this simple but to the point flag. Can you guess what the N stands for? Now, Nayib Bukele is a young and charismatic president who is described as a right-wing populist. During the 2019 national elections in El Salvador, Bukele managed to present himself as a symbol of a new era in Salvadoran politics, as the two large establishment parties of the FMLN, yep, the one from the Civil War, and the Arena, a right-wing party of which one of its members ordered the assassination of the previously mentioned Archbishop Oscar Romero. Yeah, politics is messed up. Anyway, Bukele managed to take advantage of the divided politics in El Salvador, which I would add is another level of division when you realize that normal people, like the person running the gas station and the local high school teacher, were literally involved in a war against each other less than 30 years ago. But anyway, to wrap things up, Bukele has governed the country in an authoritarian manner, which has made many political scientists and analysts of the region to be really concerned. For example, back in February 2020, Bukele ordered soldiers into the Legislative Assembly to intimidate legislators to approve a loan of $109 million. So, when in June 2021, President Bukele announced that a Bitcoin bill would be put before the Legislative Assembly, people were concerned about the whole idea being one big publicity stunt. However, as of the 7th of September, the Bitcoin law came into effect, and Salvadorans could download their government-backed digital wallet, known as Chivo, meaning cool in Spanish. So, do people actually use Bitcoin? Well, I was last in El Salvador in February this year, and I didn't see anyone pay for Bitcoin. Most normal stores like Walmart and Super Selectos function exactly how they did before. They do have to take payments in Bitcoin, but basically everyone just pays in dollars, since the dollar is a stable currency, and significantly more stable than El Salvador's neighbors' currencies. Only on the coast near the town of El Zonte, which now has a rebranded Bitcoin beach, is the cryptocurrency really pushed, which is just for tourists. But you don't have to take my word for it. I even spoke to a Salvadoran, so you can hear it from a citizen. Entonces, ¿qué está pasando con Bitcoin en El Salvador? ¿Es que la gente de verdad lo está usando?
Las personas sí están usando Bitcoin, pero más que todo para transacciones internacionales. Y luego esto inmediatamente se ve convertido a dólares. Y más que todo en los locales y establecimientos comerciales siempre se paga en dólares. Otra cosa que hay que notar es que, bueno, un montón de personas con la billetera del gobierno descargaron la billetera para tener los $30 y no volvieron a usarla más, ni volvieron a usar Bitcoin más.
So, with Bitcoin not really being used in the country as of now, what can we expect of the Salvadoran economy in the future and the use of Bitcoin? Where will Bitcoin be in 10 years? Now, many of you would like to say that the price will be $1 million per coin, and Elon Musk is living on Mars while watching Bitcoin and Dogecoin finally arriving on the moon that we've all been waiting for. Yeah, that would be quite dope, but the reality is no one really knows. We have models that can predict the demand for the coin, but its functionality so far in El Salvador has proven that the cryptocurrency is not being used as a preferred form of exchange of value, rather than the dollar, which admittedly is just one function of the currency. But remember, this is a massive gamble for the Salvadoran government, a gamble being taken with taxpayer money. This would be morally scrutinized in any country, and with good reason. And in El Salvador, a nation that really does not have the financial means to protect its citizens from a failed state-backed gamble, this is not a joke, no matter how hyped up the crypto community gets. This gamble aside though, how will El Salvador's economy progress in the next couple of decades? The truth? Not much. Despite key infrastructure slowly being completed throughout the country, like the highway linking the capital San Salvador to the coastal city of La Libertad, and US-backed infrastructure program for Milenio, economic growth is likely to remain low. Corruption in the country remains high at many levels of the economy, and organized crime makes investing in El Salvador a more risky endeavor that either deters certain investors or makes operating in the country more costly, and therefore less competitive. This is ultimately a shame. As someone who has been to El Salvador on more than one occasion and even worked from the capital for 4 months, it can be frustrating to see tax-paying Salvadorans watch their money go to waste on projects and policies that fail to have a large impact on the country, and that could greatly improve the quality of life of the average citizen. When, instead, its president is more interested in drumming up support for Bitcoin City, instead of addressing the root causes that keep the locks on El Salvador's true economic potential. So there you go. El Salvador is an emerging market that will have to address its root economic problems before any others if it wants to see significant improvements in its economic prosperity. And let's be honest, those root causes of corruption and organized crime are difficult to tackle, and I think we need to understand that sadly situations like this do not just change overnight. But despite these issues and not being home to significant natural resources, the nation does have some things going in its favor. For example, its strong connections to the USA can be further developed. After all, more than 2 million Salvadorans live in the US. Further alignment with the US would allow El Salvador to benefit from Uncle Sam's massive market. Furthermore, the nation could greatly increase geothermal production, as to reduce the cost of importing energy and making its own firms more competitive, since domestic production of energy is very often a massive plus for the economy. Ultimately though, the prospects of El Salvador's economy align less with Bitcoin and more with striving for more transparent and democratic political institutions. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, then hit that like button and the bell icon. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Also, it probably goes without saying that there is not a lot of stock footage on the internet of El Salvador. So I've used a lot of my own personal footage that I recorded while over there. Anyway, drop the Salvadoran flag in the comment section to support the channel. Otherwise, take care. Bye.